everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Premier League panel show. We have a full panel this week. Glenn is here, as always, with Brentford. Sully with Newcastle, and Io will be joining us shortly, representing Manchester United. You got to give it to Io, still hanging in there, but they have the Europe going. But obviously the league, I mean, we were talking about it going into last week with Glenn. I mean, the fixtures and stuff are the only thing to watch really is the battle for the top five and kind of like looking at our teams and squads and stuff like that. But I do have a couple of things that I do want to ask you guys regarding the league, some of the managers and stuff like that. So we'll get to that. We'll do what we normally do, hit the schedule right away. And then what I do want to do is just once we get to those games, especially with like Arsenal and stuff like that, ask you guys a little bit on that. Okay, let's start with the schedule. My Tonali's pick went down the drain. I'm pretty sure I had Wolves getting something out of that, but City finds ways of winning. And honestly, if you're a City fan, that's probably all you want right now to get to the Champions League, get 3 points, ugly or not. So at least they're getting the job done. Villa keeps up the chase, 1-0 win over Fulham. Then some stellar matchups on Saturday morning there. Leicester City, Southampton, Everton, Ipswich Town. And then we get to this game. So Arsenal 1, Bournemouth 2. I watched the most of the first half, and then I had to run out, so I didn't catch the rest. First off, let me ask you, Sully. Obviously, the league is done and dusted, which, I mean, if you look at it now, if we'll see how this game goes and how Liverpool approaches it and stuff like that. But if they lose, Arsenal have a chance of dropping from even second and stuff. With the Champions League game coming up tomorrow, and they had just played on Tuesday, what did you think, Sully, of Arteta going with the ideal starting 11?
Well, I mean, I don't blame him for it necessarily. I think Arsenal is kind of feeling the pressure right now of just how tight this table is up at the top. I mean, they're 4 points off of us, 3 points ahead of City, 4 points away from Chelsea. Like there's a lot of soccer to be played yet. And, you know, if this run of form keeps going, Arsenal could be in trouble for a Champions League spot. Their recent fixtures have not given me a lot of confidence that they're going to maintain getting points. So I'm not surprised. That being said, it's not a smart decision. Like, you should really be playing and saving your guys for Champions League. You get that guaranteed spot if you win the cup. So why not throw your eggs into that basket? So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but this race got a lot tighter over the last couple of weeks. And I think any of us thought it was going to. And I think most of us thought Arsenal pretty much locked in second, yep. Forest locked in third, and Forest now sitting in fifth. You know, it's up and down. No week is a given. You got to get something out of any of these results. And quite frankly, against Bournemouth, that was a pitiful display by those starters. And I'll be interested to see if it catches up with them tomorrow in that PSG game.
I mean, it's a roll of the dice there, Glenn, because if they go out, they get a convincing win. You can kind of take it as, there were two extremes, right? They could go out there, put away Bournemouth, and you're like, it's a confidence builder as we go to Paris and stuff like that. You will run with that. The disaster scenario was, you know, probably what happened now in terms of a result. I don't think they got any injuries or anything like that I saw, but if they got injuries on top of that, like something happens to Saka or something like that in this Bournemouth game, I mean, they would probably be all over Arteta there. But it's ended up more towards the disaster side than the ideal side. So I know it's hindsight on our part, but when you saw it or heard of it or whatever, what did you think of him going all out against Bournemouth?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I didn't think Bukayo Saka would start. We assume there'd be some rotation there for sure. And he always picks up knocks in games famously and, you know, fights through it, carries on. But I was very surprised after his lengthy layout that he started. You look at some of the key players like Declan Rice, Odegaard, you know, if they get injured, you know, it could be game over. in Paris, right? So it was high risk in some senses, but then I also respect a manager playing his strongest 11 whenever he can, and you're taking every game on its merit, not taking anything for granted. It's almost ironic, isn't it, really, that he put out the team and failed to get the result. That kind of adds this extra layer of complexity to it, because if they played the first 11, they win 2-1, then sure, we'd have some question marks about why you risked the second, but, it was justified. It's curious that they put out a strong team. That team failed to beat, a Bournemouth team that's been on a pretty bad run. We discussed, I think, last week on the show. It was a shame for Arsenal that was the way it panned out. I was certainly surprised. Whether it's a good or bad decision, I don't think anyone picked up injuries, so that's fine. I do appreciate when a manager says, also, we need to play ourselves into form, and I want my players to get game time and play together. Playing like the B team against Bournemouth and maybe losing 2 isn't like the best preparation to go to the crunch Champions League game, but I don't think many people in their like starting 11 predictors, right, that a lot of us use for fantasy football and other things, had this team sheet. I think it was really, really surprising.
Yeah, we're talking about, Arsenal going full out against Bournemouth, him starting the starting 11. That's something, for example, United definitely didn't do. Like he rotated as much as possible and stuff. And I would think, as a United fan, you were more than okay with that. And I know they're in different parts, like there is no like 15th or 16th or whatever. It doesn't make a difference at this point, right? But what did you think of like Arsenal's decision to go for it? And like I say, like Glenn says, it's high risk. I just don't think it's a high reward at the end. So that's why I feel like it was an unnecessary risk that didn't pay off because they still lost.
Correct. Yes, I think I also agree with that. I think it's one of those things where Arteta is one of this like unusual tactics guy. He always likes trying like different things, like things that are not the norm. He's one of those type of guys. I remember the time he had to play you guys, Liverpool, one time, and I think during training he had like the whole Anfield noise as a background.
He still laugh about that. Yeah, he tried to do it by blasting "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Correct. He does all this weird stuff that's not the norm. I think it's one of two things, right? If he wins tomorrow, people will be like, "Oh, you see, it makes sense." They played together. But if he loses, and especially if they lose badly without putting up a fight, of course, the narrative is going to be, "Oh, the players are tired. You see, should have not done that. Should have rested this, rested that." So I think it's one of those things where Arteta is trying to give the team something. He sees that they've kind of lost, apart from the Real Madrid game, Arsenal, for the last couple of weeks, even with Saka coming back, they've lost something. Like they pretty much fell out of the title race without putting up a fight. In the Champions League, apart from the Real Madrid, tie, every other thing has kind of been, they've been off for a while. So he's trying to give them something. And I think that's why he did that. Now, did it work? No, it did not. It failed completely.
Hey, Maggie, could you grab the black cord?
I think the biggest thing I don't understand what Arteta is, because hold on, let me throw this on the screen, because I just saw this literally right before we went on air over here. But like his quotes about I understand managers trying to stick up for their players and, like trying to like defend them and stuff like that. But he says winning trophies is about being in the right moment, in the right place. Liverpool have won the league with fewer points than what we had in the last 2 seasons. I don't know if he knows there are more games to go, but anyway, and this is the Liverpool team that lost the league with like over 90 points and stuff like that. So I don't want to hear how many points we're winning with. With the points of the 2 last seasons, we would have 2 Premier Leagues. I guess my thing, Glenn, is I'll start with you on this one. When I read stuff like that, I don't know. If I'm a fan, I understand a manager protects the players and doesn't want to throw them under the bus. But if I'm a fan and I'm reading that, this is the same guy who says, no, we want 3 trophies. Don't forget our plates. We want 2 plates, the Community Shield and stuff like that. And then he says things like that. And it almost, to me, if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would kind of get irked, because I would rather have a manager say, you know what, it wasn't enough. We got to learn from this. I'd rather hear that. I know that's cliche as well, But I think I would rather hear that from my manager instead of saying, if this happened and that happened, boom, we're champions. Because that doesn't do us any good. That didn't happen, bro. Like, so this is what happened. Now what?
Yeah, the hypotheticals are always just a waste of time, aren't they, really? And yeah, you just want him to take accountability, and there seems to be like certainly a kind of enduring experience, I guess, of his tenure is like there is always an excuse. There's always something, famously, was it in the Carabao Cup this year when the balls were too light or something? That was like one of our favorite moments of the season. It's like, just only when his team was shooting, the balls were slightly undeflated. He always seems to have some level, some arguably somewhat justified, right? If you're missing key players, whatever else, but there does seem to be, a bit of a mentality that, if this hasn't happened, if we weren't the victims of this injustice, whatever it is, it kind of gets tiresome. When all said and done, they've got a squad that should certainly have run you guys closer when you look at the quality of that Arsenal squad. When you look at other teams like Chelsea, whoever else falling away pretty dramatically, City, not at their best at all. And yeah, I mean, I guess for Arteta, there must be this like deep resentment this season that the one time the Man City project does trip over and does run out of steam and does look dated. You could never say that about a Guardiola team in the Premier League before, but it looks old, it looks dated. It's just like, it's not their usual Rolls Royce of a team. He must hate the fact that the kind of Liverpool have just, crept up behind them and then gone soaring past them. And like, that must really upset him. Like this, by all accounts, if you believe in the arc of the Arteta project, this probably should have been their year to kind of swipe the title, take advantage of teams like United, Spurs, Chelsea, all kind of missing the mark throughout the season, and then pushing you guys close and actually, beating you. And yeah, it's just a real shame when you get fixtures, like, for example, whether it was the Liverpool-Chelsea one this weekend, or I think there's going to be one this weekend as well between two of the bigger teams that at this point of the season, like by the end of April, they didn't even matter. So I'm not surprised he's kind of clutching at straws and stuff. But also, yeah, as a fan, when all said and done, the buck does kind of stop with the manager, and that's his project, right? And we could maybe talk about it. I don't see them necessarily going to Paris and winning tomorrow. They might, and if they do, good for them. But I don't think the odds would be in their favor of doing that after a disappointing first leg, right? So I can see why he's annoyed, but like, it's like, come on, just take accountability and like own your choices this season and have a bit of like confidence in your own leadership, right? In your own squad of players, right? This is your project, and there feels like there's always an excuse with him.
He's an inexperienced guy also. Sorry to cut him. He's an inexperienced guy. We have to remember that. He's very
exactly. But you would think, look, Klopp used to do this all the time. And, it's cute the first couple of times. And then afterwards, it's like, the grass is too wet, the grass is too dry. Okay, man, nobody's buying this anymore. Like, that's fine. You do it once, you cover for your guys, you do it twice. The boys tried everything, it didn't happen. And I accept that. There are times that happens. Your team plays and they don't get the result. But you guys have gone through managers who always start with we're building something. It's going to take time to, hold on, let me dig in some excuses over here and come out and stuff. But where do you stand when the manager says something like that? Would you rather get some honesty, like self-critiquing, or are you okay with like the protecting the team and the players and stuff and keep the trend going?
No, I want to find balance, right? That's what I want. I just want to find balance of, you can be honest sometimes, well, you can't be too honest, but at the same time, you can't just be selling, BS every time. Like just consistently just selling BS. And it seems like Arteta is trending towards that direction a little bit. And I don't know why he's doing it. Arteta, there's this story I heard about him, and I don't know if it's kind of related. Well, it's always made me look at him a different way. When he was the captain of Arsenal, right? They used to do this thing where they used to donate for charity every year. And there was this particular year, and Arteta was the captain at the time of Arsenal when he was a player. And instead of donating to charity, he used that money. This is like, I'm not making it. He used the money to buy a watch for Ivan Gazidis. I remember this very well. I remember reading it back then, like this is a weird guy. That's what he did. Yeah. He bought a watch for Ivan Gazidis. That's what he decided. Because they made him, you choose the charity. Instead, he bought a watch. So my point is, he always has always seemed like a company guy, those company guy who does things where it's like there are other deeper meanings under what he's doing. That's I've always looked at Arteta every time. So, but back to managers, no, I don't. I want to find balance. Like sometimes you can criticize, sometimes you can be honest. You just have to find the right balance. You can't go to any extreme of both ends. I never like managers go to the extreme of both ends.
How about you, Sully? You got 2 managers, so they're probably doing like good cup, bad cup on the sideline over there. But
Jason Tyndall.
Oh, hold on. I got to turn your mic on. Go ahead.
Oh, it's all good. We only had one this weekend because Jason Tyndall picked up his 3rd yellow card and was suspended for the match. So only
that's
one.
Why you guys lost points?
Yeah, that's a big reason. We didn't have the 2-headed monster. But no, going back to what we were talking about with the lineups. Arteta really strikes me as a manager who is frazzled right now. And Io, as you were saying, like with his inexperience. I think about myself when I was coaching. I would get into these runs of a mentality where it was I didn't trust my bench. I only felt comfortable playing the best 11 players that I had, and it ended up being detrimental. I ran players into the ground because I didn't trust my bench. So I think that's part of what Arteta is going through right now with not changing his lineups. I mean, Newcastle's changing it or doing it the same thing. We've basically started the same lineup the last 5 games, and it's coming back to bite us. Joel Linton's out for the season. So I think it'll be very interesting. I think he's in his head right now. He is in his own head and is really frazzled. And that's why he's voicing so much frustration. But, Timothy, as you said, it's almost too, or Io, I should say, there has to be a balance. Like you said, you have to be balanced in your criticism and your positive messaging. And I think he's borderline lost the plot after multiple seasons of finishing runner-up and not quite getting the job done.
We've talked about this in the past, and I know like we talked about over here, like what kind of a manager do we want on the sideline and stuff like that. And I mean, we went from like one extreme to kind of like another because Slot is nothing like Klopp. But even even compared to Klopp, like Arteta is literally psychotic. Like I would not want to play for a guy like that. It's like, dude, sit the fuck down for a minute because let us play over here. Because it's almost like he's coaching like a U13 team, like telling him where to take the throw in and stuff. Dude, let us play. Jesus Christ. Like we get paid for this, kind of a deal. It almost feels like he is like too involved and maybe like it affects the players. I mean, I don't know. Like obviously it's a lot easier to say and criticize when it's not working, Glenn. Because if they were winning everything, we'd be like, they feed off his energy and stuff like that. That would be the line. But it feels like obviously they're not winning. Because if you were winning, nobody would probably care. But I just almost feel like he's a little over the top with everything he does. And I do agree with, we give Slot a lot of crap for not trusting his bench and stuff like that. But I give him the benefit of the doubt because this is a squad he inherited. And I think next season it's going to be a different ball game with some people leaving, some people coming. It's going to be more of a Slot squad. Whereas this is Arteta's team. Like he has built this team. And I realize there are injuries, but there's a little bit of what Sully's saying. I respect a consistent starting 11, but he comes across as a very, very flustered figure that's kind of like gets like petulant a little bit too when he gets like frustrated.
Yeah, he's definitely a micromanager, isn't he? Like you can see that he loves having total control on what's going on, and he does get frustrated. We've talked about this before on the show, right? And that frustration doesn't necessarily set the best example to the players. If your manager is losing their head, is losing their cool, is giving the 4th official an earful every 5 minutes, it doesn't set the great example for discipline for the players. It's tricky. I'm just looking at the table again. I mean, it's probably is like genuinely humiliating that they're 15 points off Liverpool, right? It's May 6th, and you guys lost at the weekend after playing a highly changed team. Could be 18 points, I guess. I mean, that is crazy. And hey, I mean, to Arsenal's credit, if they go and get a result tomorrow, that would be huge. Inter in the final, winnable game. What a tie that's been the last few weeks. But like that's a team that I can see Arsenal beating, and I can see Inter beating Arsenal, but like that's a decent matchup. That's a winnable game, right? So, and they've done the business against Madrid. They've still had highlights this season, but yeah, the lack of the lack of competitiveness, the absolute peak, the peak of the table is just it's just a bit embarrassing. And yeah, you can see why he's getting frustrated. I mean, I'm sure he'll be there next year, but at what point does the Arteta project have to involve a Premier League win? I think that's probably just like a shadow overhanging him at this point. It's like, okay, you talk the talk, you give us, the motivation, you also give us the excuses, but at what point are you going to tie these things together and give give the fans a Premier League trophy? I mean, that's what people want. And, he's still got plenty of credit in the bank, and he'll be there probably for another year if he wants to be. But like, people do want to see results at this point, and he really has to deliver them. However, if they go on to win the Champions League, then credit to him. What a, legitimization of the Arteta project that would be. That's a ginormous trophy to bring home. Huge trophy, big as it gets with the Premier League. So that would be these conversations we're having now would be a real waste of time retrospectively if they come home with the Champions League.
Timogen, what year are we in of the Arteta project? Is this year 6?
Has it been that long, really? I thought it was like 4 or 5.
He came in.
I don't know. We haven't had an Arsenal person on the panel in a while, ever since they fell off.
He came here in 19.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
December 2019. I remember when he came.
2019? So it is almost 6.
Yeah,
I mean, this is definitely his squad. Like there's no argument. And that's my thing. Like, when I watch him, I know, like, for example, for Emery, it's too early, right? Like, for Thomas Frank, he's been there for a while. Eddie Howe, like, everybody has a different personality, right? Like, you knew Klopp, he was going to go out there, hug him, pick him up, whatever he was going to do. And you kind of see slowly, it's only been a season, but you can already see Slot's little personality coming out. I watch Arteta, it's like a poorly constructed AI robot is what it looks like. Like, when he talks, when he interacts with people, it's like his programming is a little off, it feels like. I find that very weird, because, like, going back to what you're saying, Sully, he's worked with these guys 4 or 5 years. You expect like more of a, you can kind of see Slots having a different relationship with certain guys like Van Dijk and stuff like that when you watch celebrations. And that's naturally was the same thing with Klopp. I watch Arteta, it almost looks like he's a substitute teacher. Like, he just came in to manage that game. It's so weird. And I think that's like is that a personality thing, Ayo? Like, what is it that makes it look like that? Oh, that's his personality? He's a robot, or?
I think so. I think he's not a very. So Arteta has charisma for sure. I would like to put that he has charisma. Like, he's one of those guys that when he talks in press conference, he commands like respect. Even if he's lying, you think he's saying the truth. Like, whatever he's saying, he has that thing about him, like most good managers have. But I do think he is one of those people also who he's not very personable. Like, he seems like he's not like personable on a one-on-one basis. Let me be clear. He looks like someone that was not very personable on a one-on-one basis. Like, if you don't do exactly what I want you to do, like that kind of micromanager, he's gonna he's gonna lose his mind. He doesn't seem like a manager that meets players halfway. He can say, I want you to stand here, exactly like what you were saying. I want you to stand here. I want you to do this. I want you to turn and receive the ball. If you don't do exactly like that, he seems like somebody that would just, flip the switch. It almost feels like he's trying too much to be Pep without being his own person. That's how I've always looked at it.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, he's always trying too much to be Pep without being his own person, right? Not understanding that, first of all, like Man City, I mean, we know they cheated, but like Man City have so much resources to bring the best of the best players, number one, and Pep has like reputation preceding him before he comes. That's why players know he's an asshole. Well, they listen to him because it's Pep. He's won the treble. He coached the best, arguably the best football club side of all time. Like, so he comes to that. I think that doesn't come in any of that, but almost feels like he's always trying to be that. So I see him as someone that is still trying to find his own personality. Like, he's trying to find his own personality. That's what I see. And even his football teams, when I see his football teams, it's like he's trying to be Pep, but I'm going to add a little bit of like what he learned, like in Everton, and I think he played for Rangers. Physicality, a lot of physicality, and he now went, I think, too far, in my opinion, to the physicality. Then he went a little bit too far, and they spent, in my opinion, too much money on defenders when they should have like spent more money, and gotten at least one more elite forward. That's what Arsenal should have done. I don't know why they never did it. And they just kept buying more defenders and like having depth. Depth will only do you so much. If you don't have game breakers that can win competitions for you, what's the point of having depth? You know?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think we're finding out in this Premier League, especially like this season, more than anything else, you need guys that can change games, and those guys are usually forwards. And yes, you need good defenders. You need a stable midfield and stuff like that. Like it's the game is won and lost in the middle and stuff. But you do need an Isak. You know what I mean? Like you do need a Mo Salah. You need an Mbeumo. Whatever United has. So you need you need players like that. I mean, I guess closest is probably Bruno Fernandes, a guy who can do something that changes a game, even if things are not going well, so that they can score a goal that you had maybe no business scoring and kind of like turn the game your way. I think we've seen that probably more and more. Let's answer this. I think I know everybody's answer, but
Timogen, you didn't mention Anthony at Real Betis. You didn't mention Anthony at Real Betis, the greatest striker in the world. Like, where was that?
He's going to give us the money, 50 million, 60 million every day. The money goes up.
He's unbelievable. 91st minute today, just
50, 60
ridiculous.
million for Anthony, man. You guys can keep dreaming. I don't think anybody is gonna. Do you think he'll come back? He'll get another shot, or is that bridge has been burned?
Yeah, 40 million. I think we get like 40 million for him, though. I think we could get 40 million for sure.
40 I can see.
Yeah, we'll take it and run immediately. We'll take it and run because the glitch can change. It's a glitch, right? There's a glitch in the matrix. The glitch can go. The glitch can change every minute. So let him go. I'm fine.
So, if Arsenal go out tomorrow, have Newcastle and United or Spurs, whichever one wins the Europa, have they had a better season? I think it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, yeah, like Johan says, a trophy is a trophy. Unless it's to share the shields, then Arsenal counts those too. But, okay, Glenn, we'll start with you as the objective one. I would say, as embarrassing, I think Newcastle is a no-brainer because they're finishing with a trophy. For United and Spurs, you can say it's an embarrassment in the league, which it is, really. I mean, it's mind-boggling. I think the fact that we've kind of like taken it as normal now is mind-boggling and embarrassing by itself. But still, at the end of the season, if they finish with a trophy, I would say at least they won something and they got to the Champions League. I would say it's a win, wouldn't you?
It's tricky, isn't it? I guess 5 years down the line, are you going to remember winning the trophy or finishing second or 15th, right? That kind of goes both ways. Are the Spurs or United fans going to remember having a terrible Premier League season, also winning a trophy? Or will the Arsenal fans remember, we finished second again and crashed out in the semi-finals? You can say the same thing if they lose the final, maybe. Maybe that's a slight caveat. It's a tricky one. I mean, just thinking about the pain and suffering the Spurs and United fans have been through this season. I mean, the club should pay compassionate damages or something for what they've.
Ayo has aged radically over.
Yeah, he's lost all his hair. Awful.
Lost like 40 pounds at age like 20 years.
Looks totally different.
I'm diet. I've been working out. What?
I don't know. It's tricky. As you said, Arsenal, Newcastle is a no-brainer, especially if they finish in the Champions League spots. I mean, that is a sensational season for them, and the cup alone speaks for itself. You can see the scenes, obviously there. That's huge. Yeah, I don't know. I think the United Spurs ones is a little tricky. If they had a better season, well, they've had an awful season in the Premier League, but you obviously have to judge a season by every tournament. And when all said and done, 5 years down the line, they're going to remember winning a trophy. It doesn't really matter where you finish in the table years down the line, because you're going to have that, in the club's history. We won a major European trophy. So by that metric, sure. I mean, I'm just going to think about the team that loses that final. Imagine being the Spurs or United type of season you have if you get to the final and lose. You've had a real rough season then. But yeah, for Arsenal, finishing second with no trophies, that's not a successful season by any metric.
I mean, Sully, I'm assuming like you would say yes to Newcastle, but I'll let you answer that. But I think like that's a good point that Glenn makes. The 5-year thing to me, or the 5 years, 10 years from now, if we look back, you'd be like, man, remember that year we freaking sucked, but we still won the Europa, is how I would remember. If it happened to Liverpool, which it will never happen. 15th, come on. But still, but I would think, if I look back, I would be like, yeah, dude, that was freaking brutal. But we still won the Europa. I would take it as like a positive spin at the end, and it will go away in my memory as a trophy winning year.
I would completely agree with that. I mean, Newcastle is the runaway way better best season. I mean, compared to like us finishing in a Champions League spot after last season is a huge improvement. With that being said, Man U, I think, is the one team that could. I'd put Man U above Spurs. I see you, Matoush. I see you. All right. I got you. We'll see if I get my Mother's Day gift from you this year. All right. Sounds good. But Matoush works at a jewelry store. He sold me and my fiance our wedding ring, or my wife our wedding rings. But I would say I would rank it Newcastle, Man U, and then Spurs. Spurs, I mean, Man U is like comically bad at some points when you're watching them. Spurs is unwatchable. That team is terrible. And I was talking with a coworker about that today, that until this last weekend, I really didn't put a ton of stock in how bad they were playing. I was like, it's injuries, it's a bad run of form, yada yada. And then this weekend, I mean, they're terrible. They are terrible. And I really think even if they win a Europa Cup, I think the stink is going to stay on Spurs longer than it would Man United. I think Man United have the ability to dig themselves out much more quickly. I think Spurs could be in a situation, if they win Europa, where it's like, hey, we won this trophy, we're in Champions League, but we're going to get belt to ass all the way through next season. Also, we are not in a position to rebuild. This season was, this was a falsehood. We won the trophy, but God, we are bad, and we are bad for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and normally wins things in the second season, so we're due. We're due on that one. But so Johan says winning the Europa means 50 more money for United to waste, basically, into the transfer budget. But I'll ask you. Johan says United are the wild. They're wilds. I don't know where the wild card is, but I mean, I will ask you, how will you remember 5 to 10 years from now if you look back? I mean, if you don't win the Europa, you probably don't want to look back. But if you do win the Europa, what would you say about this season? Would you say you had a better season than Arsenal?
Absolutely. I'll say that for banter's sake. I'll say that. I'll say absolutely, because I have a lot of annoying Arsenal friends.
We all do, yes. They're all annoying, unfortunately.
I have them everywhere, waiting. My dad's an Arsenal fan. My sister's an Arsenal fan. So, I'll absolutely say that, just for banter's sake, right? Absolutely. I did call. I don't know if you remember. I did call it here on January that United was going to win the Europa League, and I'm very confident we will. And there's no rhyme or reason. The reason why I called it in January is just because this is what United wins. Typically, we win like major trophies, especially when it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, just because it doesn't make sense, that's why I knew we're going to win it. We're the only unbeaten team in Europa right now. It makes no sense. We're terrible in the EPL, but we're the only unbeaten team in Europe. Actually, in the whole of Europe, United is the only unbeaten team in Europe, and it makes no sense. But we are, I'm going to go a step ahead and say, I think, what's their name? Bodo Glimt is going to come back against Spurs.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's my. If we are doing tonali picks, that's my tonali pick already ahead. That I think Bodo is going to come back and knock them out. That's what I think.
And the shocking thing is, I would not be surprised. I mean, I agree with something saying about Spurs. It looks like a team, like the manager didn't show up, so they just came up with their own thing, and they're doing their own thing out there. Nobody knows what you're doing. But man,
you have to backtrack.
Talking about United, I don't think that has happened all year. By the way, you
said what?
You were talking about United while smiling. I don't think that happened here a lot.
Because we need to live with something. I don't know if you guys have seen the Denzel Washington meme. I'm living here with something. We need to live with something. We have to. We don't have a choice. We have to live with something. It's been a terrible season. I have to finally answer the last part of the question. 5 years from now, for me now, Banter aside now, this will only make sense if we actually finally start making sensible recruitment decisions. Like Amorim said, right? Like winning Europa is not going to fix our issues. We need good recruitment. We need to be disciplined with our recruitment, and we also need to just make like good decisions, financial decisions. We need to do that. We need to finally do that, and that's when it will make sense. If by looking back 5 years from now, if 5 years from now United are like competing, challenging for the league, that's when this we look at this was the turning point. But if we get the Champions League, we still keep making the same mistakes, we buy another Højlund or like Anthony, then yeah, we're back in the same spot again.
This Anthony fellow is putting up great statistics. You guys should really look into him.
He's quite the winner. He's
very interesting.
Okay, let's go back to the wonderful games from the weekend over here, because we're going to come right back to United anyway. But we did the Arsenal game. Brighton won, Newcastle won. Is that because you guys only had one manager instead of two, or what happened there?
Well, I mean, not once again, Minta kills us. Like that, he's a very, very good player, and I get why we sold him. I understand, but man, does that sting. Man, does that sting. Because he's killing us. He is killing us. I don't think we were at our best. I will say hats off to Isak. Isak is doing his damnedest to drive his price tag way down and his desirability way down. So I think he will be staying. But yeah, we just didn't look up for it again. We were not shooting on target well. We picked up injuries. Cher is going to miss the Chelsea game. Joe Linton is going to miss the Chelsea game. This is an issue. So
that's a big game too.
It's the other than the cup, it's arguably our biggest game of the season since Villa 2 weeks ago. But like we just don't look up for it right now. I don't know if Eddie coming back and Tyndall being suspended had a big impact. I don't know if Tyndall, got these guys going so hard that Eddie's sort of stoic approach and more laid back approach has thrown them off. But it's pretty obvious we got to go and spend in the transfer window. We need a bench. We're having the same problem as Arsenal. We're starting the same players constantly, and I think some of that is leading to these injuries we're dealing with. So yeah, we just weren't up for it, and I think we overlooked Brighton and Crystal Palace, even though we exercised that demon. Crystal Palace had been a major issue for us the last few seasons. Brighton has been a major issue for us these last few seasons. And, teams that are like 10 through 14-ish, we always seem to struggle.
Above United and stuff?
Right above United and Spurs, who, I struggle. Oh, United, they'll be fine. But Spurs, I really struggle. I struggle to call Spurs a team at this moment. Like, that's bad. But, we overlooked these games. It didn't help. It was kind of a sign of things to come 2 weeks ago with Ipswich, where we could only beat a 10-man Ipswich team 3-0. That's a team that's in the relegation fight, or that's a team that's relegated already, nothing to play for, and they have a player less than you while you're competing for a Champions League spot. Like, you got to put more goals in, and I think that's been a struggle for us all season. So hopefully they find their mojo, because this game this weekend is critical, not just for points, but I swear if I have to listen to all my Chelsea friends talk shit, there's going to be so many problems. Like, just behind Arsenal fans sit the Chelsea Blues. So we'll see what happens.
I don't know. United fans are up there somewhere. Speaking of United fans, Io, we'll start with you on this one, because then we'll have Glenn gloat about his Brentford. But obviously a lot of rotation in your boys, right, going into the game, and I assume you're okay with that. I know you were saying you were kind of like, I don't know if it was, I think it was Jake saying he was numb, kind of watching Spurs in the Premier League. Are you in the same spot in terms of when you watch, like, are you watching for anything when you watch United's in the Premier League, or you're like, what time is the game on Thursday is all you're thinking that you don't care?
couldn't even do one better than Jake. I don't even watch it all. I'll be honest with you. I don't watch that Premier League games.
Really?
Premier League. I'm either at church. I'm doing laundry. I don't watch. I don't watch that Premier League. I didn't watch this game. I did not. I saw highlights. I saw extended highlights, and I followed my. I followed in my chat.
Your family, your wife is going to be in a shock if United has a good season. You're going to be like, you used to do laundry, damn it! Like, now you're watching TV all day. Like,
so yeah, I didn't watch. I honestly didn't watch. Like I've tuned out. I think the games in the Premier League for the last 4 or 5 games. I think right after the Arsenal game, maybe, or like the players have been on the beach. The players are on the beach, so I don't see any points, especially because Amorim has now come out. Especially, I think after the Lyon games when he came out and accepted, like, okay, now we're going to start playing kids. So I saw highlights. Brentford played very well. I mean, I think it was like should have ended like 4-1. Those two goals at the end, they're just garbage, like what they call garbage time goals. It didn't matter. Brentford already knew they had won the game. So I like the fact Garnacho looks like he's playing better. He's showing something. I like that OB.
What is he doing different, by the way, that got him back in Amarim's graces that Rashford could not get in? Like, is Garnacho doing something? Do you look at Garnacho as like he's a totally different man now, or he's like, what is it? Like, has he done something different, or Rashford was the victim? We kept this guy.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was.
Okay?
I don't think Garnacho has done anything different. When I watch him, he's not doing anything different. I'll say probably he tracks back more. Garnacho is really good at tracking back and winning the ball back. So maybe that's what it is. But I don't think he's doing anything different. But I think he is trying to pass more. Like going forward on the ball, he's trying to pass a bit more rather than because when he's on the left, attacking from the left, he does the same thing. Everything. He wants to cut into his right and shoot. He wants to cut into his right and shoot, even when the man is open. This time, I think he's learning to release the ball quicker. First time, so I think that's helping the team as a whole, So, and I always thought I think we should keep Garnacho. I know something wanted to say him. I'm like, you don't sell your young players.
No.
I
know at the time he was one of the few assets that would get actual like valuable money and stuff like that. But so you do have to move some people, I guess, to get some people in. But if he's fitting that's why I was wondering, like, is he just still there hanging out, or if he is really working into Amarim's system so that he's actually a building piece now moving forward kind of deal.
Yeah, I think Ineos is talking about the assets. I think Ineos, I have a theory, though. I think Ineos is selling the blinder to people. I really think that when I'm selling the blinder they're trying to over-exaggerate the financial problems so that clubs don't fleece them in the market. I think they're doing that. That's what I honestly think. That's what
people who don't have lunch, man.
You said what?
Tell it to the people who don't have lunch.
Oh no, I know that's terrible. But I think that is just all of that is just a function of their model of how they run companies. Like all their other companies, that's how they do when they take over. They did that Nice in France. They take over, they cut staff, they cut costs. That's a function. Regarding the whole financial problem, I think they are over exaggerating it. In my personal opinion, I think they are.
Monies? We don't have monies.
Do you need to speak to Man U's head of transfers? Do you need to speak to the head of recruitment? She says, bye, Anthony.
No.
Taking that Europa money, spending your own phone. Glenn. Well, I mean, it looked like I said, I only watched highlights. I was trying to see actually Altay, who came from Fenerbahce over there. I was trying to see how he did, and it looked like there was nothing he could do with the goals. I mean, there's like nothing he could do, looked like, but that's the only reason I kind of watched the highlights. But I mean, kind of like a big win because it looked like pretty dominant, kind of like what Io says. Looks like the other goals came in garbage time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a little complacent, to be honest. We made a couple of indulgent subs, brought on a couple of players who've been injured, and kind of took that 4-1 lead a little for granted that was game over. And it's dangerous to do against any team, let alone a team like Man United who does have quality. Like Garnacho's goal was beautiful. I mean, what a finish. But yeah, big picture for us, huge win. I mean, being 4-1 up against United is still one of those kind of pinch yourself moments. I know we beat you guys 4-0 a couple seasons ago, which was one of my favorite results, I think, of the Premier League era for us. But Right now, we've won 3 in a row, unbeaten in 5, and we've only lost 2 of our last 11. Huge record. That's kind of more like a Man City-ish run-in. And 7 consecutive games in that run were against teams in the top half of the table. So it's not like we've just been cleaning up against the bottom 3. What's really stood out is obviously our attacking quality. Clearly, we've got 3 players into double figures this season. Sharda has kind of come out of the blocks with a couple of really important goals. Obviously, Johan Wissa, obviously Brian Mbeumo as well. And only Barcelona and Bayern Munich are the only other teams in the top European leagues with 3 players on 15 goals or more. So that's into double figures, should I say? So 10 goals or more. Yeah, huge. So we've really got
you have Nunez, to be fair. So
yeah. So we've really spread the goals out. And my favorite stat I read just this evening was that Mbeumo and Wissa together have scored as many goals as Everton have managed this season and more than all of the relegated sides have managed in total. So we've scored more than Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester. So that's pretty impressive for 2 forwards from Brentford. It's not like we're talking about Haaland here, or we're talking about Salah and I don't know, so Mane or Firmino. We're not talking about like that caliber of club, but we are talking about that caliber of player. So clearly, it seems that Brian Mbeumo is going to be off at somewhere. Maybe maybe one of the clubs were represented on this episode. Maybe.
We'll take him.
Yeah, I think any smart club would take him in the Premier League, or your any top club would take him because he's a threat. Free kicks, corners, pacey. He's almost a complete winger, almost.
Yeah.
And then Wissa's just been exceptional this season. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw his goal against Nottingham Forest in the week last Thursday, but I mean, talk about a clinical finish. I mean, that chip was just outrageous. So, and it helps that they're best friends, right? They have this synergy I always talk about on this show. So, yeah, and as the comment said, as Archie just said in there, we do have some decent fixtures. We have a good run in, and Europe is not impossible. I think we're essentially 2 points off Bournemouth, who are in 8th place, if I remember correctly. And if Man City win the FA Cup final, I think European spots in the Premier League will go down to 8th. That's my understanding of the situation. Yeah. So 8th place gets Europe. We're well in the mix for that. We're going to play Fulham, who are one of the rivals in West London and in this race. It's basically, looking at it, it's Bournemouth above us, then it's us in 9th, and then Brighton and Fulham are probably the others. So it's kind of like a 4-horse race to really get up there. Palace are just too far behind. So for us to be, in the race for Europe and ending the season so strongly, as Archie kind of touched on, we've got a great potential to pick up some more wins. And that run of form is exceptional. And we're playing good football. We're entertaining people. And I would say, I think our most complete performance of the season was on last Thursday, 2-0 at Nottingham Forest. I get the caveat they were deflated from the FA Cup, but I watched the game live, obviously on TV. The atmosphere at the Forest ground was huge, right? Fans were up for it. Players looked fatigued, sure, and a little bit down, but they have the quality to hurt you, right? And for us to go to Notts Forest, a team who have been in European spots for months, and to keep a clean sheet and to grab 2 goals, I mean, with both 2 of our strikers scoring in Sharda and Wissa, I mean, you can't ask for much more. And the whole team, I think everyone is making each other better, right? And everyone's standards this season have gone up here. Collins, Flecken, Wissa, and Mbeumo, all of them are hitting higher standards than they've ever reached for us. So I'm excited. And this funny thing is, a good point from Archie. It does play into Brentford's favour. Could you believe it that the game that was the frustrating one for us was Bournemouth going to Arsenal and winning? Can you believe that? Arsenal played their strong team. And I was like, great, Saka's starting, Rice is starting, Odegaard's starting, great.
That's why you were like, I didn't see anything wrong with it. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get used to it. Get used to playing well. Keep the momentum. So I was hoping Arsenal would get a win. That would have been really handy for us. And if Arsenal had won, we would be in 8th place right now. So that shows the fine margins, run it with the run-in. And, the fact we're playing Fulham is huge as well. And, we dispatched Brighton a week or 2 ago. So we're right in there. And what a great way to end the season as a Brentford fan. I just want us to get our highest position ever, which is about where we would be now. But if we can get into 8th place, wow, that would be amazing.
I mean, it looks like, based on the schedule and stuff like that, too. The only thing, I would love to get Mbeumo. The only thing I don't like is he's from Cameroon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is next year is the African Cup, and you losing him and Mo at the same time
That's big.
is like a no bueno.
At a
That's
bad
what
time of the season as well. It's like when the
exactly.
games
I mean,
stack up.
you need somebody who's gonna come in for Mo while he's gone and when he comes back, because Mo is never the same when he comes back from AFCON. But just to finish off the week, West Ham won, Tottenham won. Apparently, they're still playing over there. Chelsea 3, Liverpool 1. I don't know. It was a rotated side. I know when I watched the celebrations after Tottenham, I was like, and these guys are going to play another 4 games because it just did not look like it at all. And I understand the rotation. And yeah, we do have Chiesa for that. I think that's the word. I hear we bought Chiesa, but I haven't seen him, so it's rumors. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to really care. I mean, you never want to lose, but it's like whatever. And honestly, it was a 3-1, but obviously it was like a last second penalty that was an yeah, I mean a drunk pull pretty much, right? I mean, even when you rotated, I was like, oh, you should probably rotate. It's not like those guys aren't partying either. So it'll be interesting to see what he does against Arsenal. I don't know if he go all out against Arsenal. And depends on which Arsenal we're gonna get, like based on what happens tomorrow. Is it gonna be a deflated one? Is it gonna be one that's going out there to prove a point? I'd rather have him, just like rotate as much as possible. Really, it is what it is at this point. Let's finish the season, just keep partying. I mean, when you lose a game and then afterwards Konate is dancing with the fans, I don't think anybody cares anymore at this point. So we can thank Arteta and his Lego head for throwing the towel too early over his dead body. We have won the league 4 weeks to go. Crystal Palace won, Forest won. I watched a lot of that game actually. Yeah, it's kind of like a tricky overall deal over there. That's how Forest that's kind of like starting to fall. It's odd that when you see a momentum of a team where they have the belief, and then the moment they start doubting that belief, like the house of cards starts crashing down. That's what I see a lot in Forest. They still have a lot of talent, but it's just not happening for them. Any chance that you guys think anybody think Forest will fall out the top 5?
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's weird by like the fact that it's a possibility sounds really weird because months ago we said the top 3 is pretty much determined. I mean, we're trying to figure out 4th and 5th.
Yeah, the details of Forrest's death have been under exaggerated. Like they do not look good. They do not look confident. They do not look organized. They're in some real trouble. And I just wonder if they got lucky or they got hot at the right time at the beginning of the season and racked up points when they could. And now when the going gets tough, they're wilting.
Let me ask you guys this. Deluded Steve says, anyone on the panel wants Arsenal to beat? Oh, okay. Because we talked a little bit about could they beat him? Does anybody want? I don't, for one, because I can't stand Lego head for one. And there's something to be said about losing to the eventual champions. So that's where I'm at with that. Ayo, would you want Arsenal to?
No, I don't. Absolutely.
You're gonna hear it from the family. Never mind. You already pretty much
answered. I remember I predicted PSG. Remember when I came on here last time? And you thought I was just doing it because I hated Liverpool. I said, yeah, she's going to get to the final. I said,
to be fair, that was a big part of it. But yes, you did call it. I'll give you
that.
No,
it wasn't because of Liverpool. I had watched them and I knew that they were very good. Yeah. So,
Glenn, are you rooting for Arsenal or PSG tomorrow?
No, I mean neither. I don't like PSG either. But no, I'm not rooting for Arsenal. The fan base is too annoying.
Who do you want to go to the final?
PSG. Okay. PSG enters a good European a good European final. Good.
So she says, I don't want Arsenal to even beat an egg. And that's all. I'm hoping that's all Arteta beats at the end. But Sully, Arsenal or PSG?
PSG. I've been saying PSG, Inter for a couple of weeks. Inter, I would put as my second team behind Newcastle. They were a team that I really fell in love with while growing up. I'm a big fan of horizontal stripes. That's how I pick my teams.
To look thin or like, I don't know.
I don't know. I just like it. It's a vibe. So,
okay.
I go with Inter PSG. I think that's a good matchup. I think we will get a game very similar to the games we've had these last 2 weeks with Inter and Barcelona. I think it is going to be an absolute classic final if it's Inter PSG. If it's Inter Arsenal, I think it's 1-0 Inter, and most of the Arsenal players are crying because Inter is playing too physical with them.
Yeah, I honestly, it would be weird to. Vertical stripes do not make people look fat. That's the horizontal stripes. Fat, trust me. If you're fat, you want to wear vertical.
There's no weight shaming. We're just vibes here. We're just vibes on this show.
Right.
Just vibes.
If you want thin vibes, you go with vertical. If you want thick vibes, you go with horizontal. That's how that works. Black and white during the day, black and blue at nights. I don't know.
Heyo.
Hate that club. The only thing Arsenal have won is my hatred for them above United. Well, that's shocking by itself that I really do despise. I think United has become a little bit of pity at this point too. Not pity, but like my brother is a United fan. It's not even fun making fun of him anymore. Like it used to be. Now it's not even. He's in the fetal position, like constantly crying. So I just want to leave him alone, you know. So like he's crying, saying stuff to himself like this team sucks, I hate it. So you don't want to mess with that. You just let him cry it out. So, I mean, that's where we're at with United, unfortunately. But let's look at the standings real quick. Damn, that is tight up there, man. Everybody is on top of each other, and Forest being sixth that's freaking shocking. That is really shocking. Like, I don't think anybody saw that. I mean, I think we all expected a little bit of a drop off, but maybe we didn't expect the other guys to bounce up that much or what. But it's has been like a weird season in that sense. But
they have Chelsea last game of the season. One of the games to watch will be Forest Chelsea. Yeah. That's going to be a real game.
I hate that we're having to watch Chelsea 2 out of 3 of the last 3 weeks. Like, don't put them on my TV. I don't want to see Nico Jackson do anything.
Put them on my TV. Yeah, I mean, we can look at that table all day, Steve. Just all day. Like, we can just put that on there. An hour show, just looking at the standings and drooling. But, you know, you can only go so far. Tonali's picks. It's that time of week where we put money. We got to feed that dog. We got to open the. We've got so much stuff to do with this money, and we can't really. There were some good picks. I think you nailed it last week, right, Glenn? Didn't you have like a upset special?
Oh, did I have a good one? What did we say?
I can't remember. I know I had Wolves, and that went down the drain. But this week, let's see what we got over here. Man, this league is pretty much done. Let's go back to the standings. That looked a lot better than the schedule. Okay. Sully, we will start with you. Tonali's picks. Where is Tonali's money going? Ooh,
I've got a couple that I like. Oh man.
Some actually like
for
fun
these
games to watch. Like Wolves Brighton will be an interesting game to watch as a fan of the sport. I think Bournemouth, Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, 6 a.m.
Don't even get me started with that. Don't even get me started. That should be that's an 11:30 kickoff if I've ever heard one. 6 a.m. ridiculous. But
that's when the big boys play, Sully. The 11:30. Okay, what is your upset special?
All right, Glenn, I hate to do this, but this is only about making money. This is business. This is not personal. All right. Ipswich over Brentford. I think Ipswich is finally figuring out that we're in the middle of a Premier League season. Like they're finally figuring they want to play. So I think Ipswich 2-1 over Brentford.
No chance. It's going to be 4 or 5-1. That's a waste of money. That is a waste of money.
I think it's a good investment.
Setting money on the fans.
Trying to play the high odds over here, but
they've won 4 games all season. They've won 4 matches all season.
Yeah,
and it's about to be 5.
Brentford being able to score, that's the thing, you know, like, and Ipswich not being able to stop anybody. But Glenn, where is your money going?
I went straight to the Wolves one. Kind of jumps out as well. I quite like Everton getting a good result at Fulham. I mean, pressure's on Fulham. They're a little inconsistent at the minute, and you know, Moyes is really making it happen there. They've got players, you know, Beto's kind of appeared and looks like a really decent striker, and Dye's just come back from injury. He's key for them. McNeil's come back. He got a great goal, didn't he, at the weekend? Absolute banger. I think they've got a front three at the minute, Everton, and you can't say this for most of the season, that can really hurt you. So I fancy Everton getting a good result with Fulham.
Ooh, good thing Alex is not around. Io, what do you have? What is United West Ham is a great matchup to watch, by the way. Yeah, what do you have for your upset pick?
I'll be doing launching for that game for sure. Okay, my upset is Crystal Palace. The boys from South London. Crystal Palace is going to upset Spurs.
That's not an up.
They're above them in the table.
That's not an upset.
That's
That doesn't count.
That is not an upset.
You won't get the odds for that. You won't.
I wonder, like, somebody look it up because the odds have to be on Palace, right? I don't know if they're home.
Definitely. With the rotated Spurs team, with the Spurs B team, that's the odds are well.
Oh, that's another thing they're gonna be. But I mean, hey, you know what?
It's their A team. They're going to be knocked out of Europe. I guarantee that. On Thursday, they're knocked out, and it's going to be the A team. Okay, if you can't go with that, let's go. I'll go with Wolves Brighton.
Yeah,
Wolves to be Brighton. Okay,
I like that.
Oh man, you guys took all the good stuff. I mean, I'm not touching United and West Ham. Who would be the favorites in the Bournemouth Villa game? You guys think Bournemouth?
Villa.
No,
that's
Villa.
even.
It's got to be Villa.
You think so? I figured Bournemouth being home, they would get the edge. Forest should finally get 3 points against Leicester.
Oh, yeah.
Liverpool, Arsenal, I don't even want to touch that. It's against my religion when I'm betting.
You've got Southampton left. There's Southampton. There's no one else.
Let's really play the odds. Let's burn that stack.
Yeah, right. Southampton against City. That's a good little wager one, actually. The Southampton getting something, but I'll go with Villa getting something against Bournemouth.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's considered an upset. I would think Bournemouth would be favored that just because they're at home. But that's a huge game. Those two are actually, and also fun games to watch. I wouldn't mind doing a watch along with the gang. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the only thing I'm watching at this point is more breaking more records. And with Barcelona going out of the Champions League, I don't know if the Ballon d'Or door is wide open for Mo now. Because I know like Rafinha and stuff like that were being mentioned, but if they didn't win the Champions League either, you would think Mo would get that, but it is what it is. So yeah, interesting week coming up. So we'll be back with the scores next week. Let's see where we're at. We'll know who's in the final of the Europa. I wasn't gonna even watch those games. Now I'm gonna have to turn on the freaking Tottenham game to see if Io is right. That's the only.
I'll be right.
I wasn't even gonna watch it. To be honest,
I was going to remind you guys when it happens in the chat. Don't worry.
But yeah, thanks a lot for all those joining us today. Hit that thumbs up, grab a friend by the ear, and if you have a friend who wants to be on the panel representing their team, have them come our way because we have more spots open. Everybody's welcome. There's 3 new teams coming up. We might want to just keep the 3 teams going down anyway because they'll probably come right back up. We'll just rotate those 3 back and forth. But have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you guys same time next week. Take care.
All right.